Hello guys, how are you doing? This is the 34th episode of Python tutorial series. This is the continuation of the previous episode, which was the 33rd. I hope you have watched that one fully. Now create an iterator. To create an object slash class as an iterator, you have to implement the methods iter and next to your object. As you have learned in the Python classes slash objects chapter, all classes have a function called init, which allows you to do some initializing when the object is being created. The iter method acts similar. You can do operations like initializing, etc., but must always return the iterator object itself. The next method also allows you to do operations and must return the next item in the sequence. Okay, and create an iterator that returns numbers starting with 1, and each sequence will increase by 1, returning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, etc. Class my numbers def iter of self dot a equals to 1, return self. Fine. Now that's now another method or function def next of self x equals to self dot a plus equals to 1, return x. Oh, I guess the my numbers class, it was not init function. The first one is iter, and the second one is next. So let me read that once again. Def iter of self dot 1 equals to 1. It is kind of initialization like the init method, and then return self. So it has to return. Def next of self x equals to self dot a. Now self dot a plus equals to 1 and return x, because it is the next function. My class equals to my numbers. So my class is an instance of my numbers class. My iter equals to iter of my class. That's fine. Now if we print next of my iter like 5 times, first of all, I believe we are gonna print 1 through 5. Right. Okay. Now stop iteration. The example above would continue forever if you had enough next statements, or if it was used in a for loop. To prevent the iteration to go on forever, we can use the stop iteration statement. In the next method, we can add a terminating condition to raise an error. If the iteration is done a specified number of times, like stop after 20 iterations, class my numbers colon def iter of self dot a equals to 1, return self. Def next of self, if self dot a less than equal to 20 colon x equals to self dot a plus equals to 1, increment, then return x. Else raise stop iteration. Okay, so when self dot a will be equals to 20, it will raise stop iteration. That's fine. Stop iteration, here we can see it's not camel case, it's the Pascal case. Okay, my class equals to my numbers. So my numbers is a class, and my class is an instance or object of that. Then my iter of equals to iter of my class. Now for x in my iter, print x. Let's see what's gonna happen. So 1 through 20 is printed out. Let's see the full code. For x in my iter, print x. Okay, this looks a little bit weird, but then again, sometimes there are things that are weird, still we have to accept them. Python scope, a variable is only available from inside the region it is called. This is called scope. Local scope, a variable created inside the function belongs to the local scope of that function and can only be used inside that function. Okay, a variable created inside the function is available inside that function. Def my func colon x equals to 300 print x. If you call the function, then 300 will be printed out in the console. Okay, now function inside function. As explained in the above example, the variable x is not available outside the function, but it is available for any function inside the function. Okay, so the local variable can be accessed from a function within the function. Def my func x equals to 300. Now def my inner func, that's another function under in the scope of the previous function. Print x, x 300 will be printed out. This is the function definition of my inner func, but you have to call it. Okay, my inner func, this is the calling, and also you have to call the bigger function my func. So 300 will be printed in the console. That's all. The global scope, a variable created in the main body of the Python code, is a global variable and it belongs to the global scope. That's pretty fine. Global variables are available from within any scope, global and local. A variable created outside of a function is global and can be used by anyone. Like x equals to 300, that's a global scope. Def my func print x, 300 will be printed. My func, this is calling the function, and also outside of the function print of x, this is in global scope. 300 will be printed twice in two separate lines. Naming variables. If you operate with the same variable name inside and outside of a function, Python will treat them as two separate variables. Okay, one variable in the global scope outside the function and one variable in the local scope inside the function. The function will print the local x and then the code will print the global x. Okay, x equals to 300, that's global scope. Now this is a function definition. Def my func x equals to 200, and this time x will be considered as another variable, not the previous x. Okay, and if you print of x, then 200 will be printed out. Now we call the function my func, and also we print the value of global variable x. So first, since we first call the function, 200 will be printed out, and then the global variable x with the value of 300 will be printed out. So 200 in the first line and 300 in the second line will be printed out. Yes. Now global keyword. If you need to create a global variable but are stuck in the local scope, you can use the global keyword. Okay, the global keyword makes the variable global. If you use the global keyword, the variable belongs to the global scope. Def my function, the function definition. Okay, so you want to declare a global variable here inside the function. So you write global x equals to 300. Now x is accessible from outside of the function. Okay, my func, this is the function calling, and print of x 300 will be printed out. That's all. Also use the global keyword if you want to make a change to a global variable inside a function. Okay, to change the value of a global variable inside a function, refer to the variable by using the global keyword. So here they mean that actually x equals to 300, a global variable has been created, but you want to change it inside the function. And how do you do that? Very simple. Inside the function definition, first you write global x. So this particular x will denote the global variable which is initialized as 300. Now since you are willing to change the value, simply write x equals to 200 or any other value you like. Then this was the function definition. After that we call the function, and after that we print x. So when we call the function, x is the value of x is just changed from 300 to 200. Now if we print x, 200 will be printed in the console. So I guess this was the 4th episode. No, just not 4th, 34th episode of Python tutorial series. Okay guys, see you again in the next one.